The mother of a 14-year-old girl involved in youth crime voices her concerns with the juvenile justice system.
These children, they're teenagers. They know what they're doing. They know right from wrong.
Why she says more children, including her own daughter, should be held accountable. 2 months after the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, and no one has been arrested for 2 murders. We take an inside look at how police could be working the case behind closed doors. Critiques of the youth curfew as summer enforcement wraps up.
There needs to be an honest evaluation of this program.
Why one expert questions whether the taxpayer dollars used were used in the right way. Overcoming obstacles for a quality education. How a school in one of Maryland's poorest areas is showing a sense of community may be all you need to find success.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. As summer winds down, Fox 45 News is pushing for answers amid a rise in juvenile crime across Baltimore and the state. We've seen children as young as 11 caught up in several high-profile crimes this summer, from a spree of car thefts to the Brooklyn Day mass shooting.
Fox 45 News is demanding accountability from leaders at the city and state levels. We've heard from prosecutors and law enforcement experts across the state who say their hands are tied when it comes to young offenders being held accountable. Tonight, a mother joins those calls saying her 14-year-old daughter is wrapped up in juvenile crime.
I worry about my daughter not living till her birthday in December. I worry about my daughter every single day. It's taking our babies younger and younger, the streets. They need to start locking these kids up. They need to change the laws.
Well, tonight we have team coverage as Keith Daniels digs into the Brooklyn Day investigation.
Change existing ones. Prosecutors across the state have been taking issue with 2 laws, including the Juvenile Justice Reform Act, which prevents children 13 and under from being charged with most crimes. And then there's the Child Interrogation Protection Act, which keeps police from questioning juveniles without a parent or attorney present.
What we're realizing when we talk to young people is that young people, the juveniles, know there's nothing that we can do.
They know that, nothing's really going to happen to them if they keep their crime in a certain limit of types of crime.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day. They get picked up for the second one, can't detain them. They're back in the community again the next day.
State Senator Jill Carter, who represents Baltimore, authored some of the legislation in question. She stands by the laws, and in a conversation with Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost, says she doesn't think the laws are the main issue.
I think that police and prosecutors need to be better educated if they're believing that they can't do anything, which I don't know why they would believe that.
Well, Fox 45 News also sent questions to Governor Wes Moore's office asking about what changes need to be made to hold juveniles accountable. The governor's office sent us a statement saying the governor will continue to work with legislators and community leaders to bring solutions that provide real measures of accountability. That brings us to our question of the day. What would you like the governor to do about juvenile crime before the next legislative session? Listen to prosecutors or make no changes to current laws. 96% of those who voted say listen to prosecutors. You can make your voice heard by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
We mentioned the 14-year-old arrested in connection to the Brooklyn Day mass shooting, one of 2 teens arrested last week. But BPD says the investigation is far from over. Fox 45's Keith Daniels joins us live with a look at how police may be handling the case behind closed doors. Keith?
Well, Mary, the acting police commissioner says detectives are working this mass shooting investigation daily. And tonight, a closer look at what detectives might be doing. Mayor Brandon Scott and acting Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley have said it's an investigation that won't be rushed. The Brooklyn Day mass shooting that left 2 people dead, 28 others shot. An incident that happened 2 months ago. Still, no arrest yet of a suspect directly connected to the killings.
I think we have a CSI effect going on. We all want it wrapped up in an hour.
Melissa Pinkleton, a law enforcement analyst and retired Nashville police sergeant, walks us through the process, dissecting the investigation.
There are so many videos that have to be collected.
Tonight, what detectives might be doing behind the scenes, knowing that police have already made 4 arrests in the case, not related precisely to the homicides.
What that tells me is they have found key individuals who were involved with either the plotting or the planning or the carrying out, and they have put those individuals in separate rooms and somebody's talking, and they're not going to tell you that. I'll tell you that. That's what happens when you have a scenario like this and you finally get some key players. They are separating them. They're dividing and conquering.
Last week, the announcement of 2 arrests in the case, including a 14-year-old suspect arrested at school. In all, 4 suspects arrested so far, but no one arrested yet and directly charged with the deaths of the people who died in the shooting. Worley vowing an arrest will come.
Our detectives are working around the clock. We still have conference calls to talk about where the investigation is at, and we will be making some arrests.
The 2 victims killed, 18-year-old Aaliyah Gonzalez and 20-year-old Kylis Fagbimi. Gonzalez's mother watching and waiting now for an arrest amid the heartbreak.
The tears never stop because everything reminds me of her. Everything.
Meanwhile, Pinkleton with more on police and the investigation.
We need to let the officers take the information that they have, go through it, do a thorough investigation because you want the conviction in court. And if you sacrifice quality for speed, you're not going to get a conviction.
That's Keith Daniels reporting. This summer's youth curfew touted as a way to curb juvenile crime while children were away from school. But some say a lack of participation in the $1 million program has taxpayer experts concerned. Fox 45's Jeff Abel joins us live with questions surrounding the future of the program. Jeff?
You know, city leaders may be touting its success, but it is a hard sell for many critics who insist the city failed to deliver on its $1 million curfew program. The season began with some get tough words.
We are going back to the old days. We will be enforcing the youth curfew in Baltimore.
But as the season came to a close, actions are speaking a lot louder than words.
The only way we get to know the kids is if we walk out and talk to them.
The city's curfew enforcement effort, which ended this weekend, paid city workers to keep watch on 3 popular downtown communities and engage youth who were violating the city's curfew. Their mission was to encourage teens to go home or offer transportation to a curfew center in Park Heights, where they would be offered free food and activities until parents could pick them up. But at the end of the summer, no child had agreed to go to the center, and the Get Tough enforcement had dwindled to a devoted few. By the end of the program, City Hall sources say there were far more city workers staffing the curfew center than there were working the field. On this final weekend, sources tell us 7 city workers were staffing the center, 1 volunteer and 1 van driver were working the field. And the enforcement effort, which was supposed to run until 3 in the morning, had lately been shutting down at midnight, closing 1 hour after the city's 11 p.m. curfew had gone into effect.
Most of the young people went home before the curfew was up. So I look at that as a success.
This was not a success. This was a complete failure.
The season proved to be one of the rowdiest on record. Fights in Fells Point, a late-night mass shooting in Brooklyn, and a juvenile crime rate unlike any in recent memory.
And if there was no reduction in crime, if this really didn't work, they should never bring this project back again.
Taxpayer advocate David Williams says the curfew enforcement effort, which cost taxpayers $1 million, demands an honest evaluation.
The concern for taxpayers is that they're going to be giving a blank check next year because the police commissioner, the city council is going to come to the conclusion that this worked. And will we ever really know whether it worked or not if there isn't an open and transparent accounting of the program on what happened this past summer?
Well, at last week's council hearing, the police commissioner admitted what many researchers have long proven, that most juveniles commit their crimes before curfew, not after. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
It has been a very hot day. In fact, it's been the hottest day of the year so far. And even at this hour, we're still seeing very warm temperatures. 86 currently with clear skies over Towson. Around the rest of the state, temperatures in the 70s and the 80s. We've got the upper 80s in the city, 89 degrees at this time. And tomorrow, we're getting ready for another hot one with near record-breaking temperatures. I'll let you know how long this hot stretch of days lasts coming up in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Jasmine, thank you. Well, nearly a dozen Baltimore City schools will close early tomorrow and Wednesday because of this extreme heat. None of the 11 impacted schools have working air conditioning. The school system was supposed to have air conditioning installed in all classrooms by this school year, but now they say they'll have AC by the end of this school year.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, a 12-year-old outside of Dunbar High School is shot during a football game. And now people are voicing concern about the violence. Why one expert argues Friday's shooting could have a citywide impact. The search for a killer continues nearly a month after Rachel Morin's death in Harford County. Why police say they're no closer to a suspect despite DNA evidence. And after the break, Project Baltimore takes us to a school with one of the highest poverty rates in Maryland. We'll tell you how teachers are trying to make sure they see the world through their students' eyes. In the poorest school in Washington County, yet it's on par with some of the best schools in the state.
As Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains, there's a secret to success at Salem Avenue Elementary.
After 11 years, it's become a tradition in this Hagerstown community.
It's a great way to build community and just be out in force here. I took two. That's awesome. Thank you. Perfect. Here we go. Avon Road. All right. He really was a cutie patootie.
1 week before the start of school, equipped with maps and student lists.
Hannah's in your homeroom, right? Yep. Okay. Like the one we're heading to next, I had his sister in 3rd grade, so she's gonna be a 5th grader this year.
teachers from Salem Avenue Elementary hit the streets for what's known as the Blitz.
Hey! Hi, Maynard. How are you? Is Kimberly back there too? Hi, Kimberly.
Molly Adams and Stacy Yost teach 3rd grade at Salem Avenue. Together, they have 30 students on their list. That's 30 homes to visit.
All 4 of these awesome teachers, we're all going to get to see you and work with you during the day. It's so important to build those relationships because kids can't access the learning if they don't feel important and valued.
For 3 hours, they knock on doors, introduce themselves,
We're these teachers. We just came to say hey.
meet their students and their families.
Nice to see you. I'm Mrs. Adams. How are you?
Principal Thomas Garner created the Blitz in 2012. He wanted teachers to see firsthand how their students live and the challenges they face. Because at Salem Avenue Elementary, every student faces challenges. According to federal data, 100% of the students live in poverty.
We got great kids here, we got great parents here, but really, teachers, normally these walls protect them from the outside world.
So there's 923, so yeah, it's right over there. Oh,
Garner says teachers who want to work at Salem Avenue have to understand where their students come from.
They're going to have bad days just like everyone else. They may not have power on a day. They may not have great weather when they're walking a mile to school. These are things that they have to understand.
Hagerstown is a blue-collar town of about 43,000 people with a higher poverty rate than Baltimore City. And many of the families who live here are dealing with addiction. The city sits at the intersection of Interstates 70 and 81, known as the Heroin Highway.
Javar, welcome to 3rd grade. And
The Blitz gives teachers insight into their students' lives. Knowing what they're coping with at home helps teachers better teach.
I think it has made them more humanistic. I think it's also really, in some weird ways, really helped them push their expectations higher. You know, I'm a firm believer that you can't feel sorry for anyone. Feeling sorry for someone never has made them stronger.
There are roughly 1,400 public schools in Maryland. 98 have 100% poverty, meaning they receive extra federal funding to help low-income students. At Salem Avenue, every student is eligible for free breakfast and lunch, and any extra money goes towards books. The school has placed a strong emphasis on literacy, teaching children to love reading. And it's working. According to the most recent state test scores, 45.4% of students at Salem Avenue are proficient in English, a full point higher than the Maryland average. And in a state where the poorest areas tend to have the lowest rated schools, Salem is proving that doesn't need to be the case. This is the only school with 100% poverty to earn 4 out of 5 stars on the Maryland Report Card, which measures overall performance based on factors including attendance, test scores, and curriculum. Nearly all the other schools in Maryland with 100% poverty earn 1 or 2 stars.
I'm Mrs. Adams.
And I'm Mrs. Yost.
Yes, Mrs. Yost.
My friend Lily loved you as a 3rd grader.
Oh, Lily.
So sweet.
For Adams and Yost, the Blitz
I heard really great things about her.
is about meeting kids where they are.
I get you in the afternoon for reading and English and writing. Do you like to read? Yeah, I can tell.
Making a connection before they ever enter the classroom.
You don't remember a specific lesson usually. You don't remember a specific test, unless it was really tragic. But you do remember your teachers. You remember your friends. You remember an experience that you had.
It validates what I do every day, what we do every day, because some days are harder than others.
We're so glad we got to see you. Thanks for hollering so we could come over, okay?
We'll be looking for you, okay?
All right, bud.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Coming up, tomorrow marks 1 month since Rachel Morin was killed along the Mon Pa Trail in Bel Air. We have an update on the investigation and some lingering questions.
The search for an escaped killer near Philadelphia, where police are focusing their efforts as we are into day 5 of the manhunt.
We are getting ready for another very hot day tomorrow. Typically around this time of year, our temperatures are in the mid-80s, but will be about 15 degrees higher tomorrow. I'll let you know how long the stretch of hot days last in my Weather Authority forecast.
And as we head to break, a live look over the Inner Harbor. A picture does not tell you how hot it is out there tonight. It is steaming. We'll be right back. Taking a look now at the Fox box. Top left, Steve Harwell, the former lead singer of Smash Mouth, has died. The band's manager says he died of liver failure. Harwell was a founding member of the Grammy-nominated band famous for hits like All Star and their cover of I'm a Believer. Harwell was just 56 years old.
On the top right, Pennsylvania State Police are looking for a convicted killer who escaped prison near Philadelphia last Thursday. Danilo Cavalcante was convicted of killing his ex-girlfriend in 2021. Police say the man is considered extremely dangerous. Police say he's been seen at least 4 times, and they blocked off a large wooded area near Philadelphia, concentrating their search.
Bottom left, 4 astronauts, including 2 Americans, are back from a 6-month mission at the International Space Station. The crews oversaw more than 200 projects while aboard the ISS.
On the bottom right, Hawaii is welcoming visitors after the devastating wildfires in Lahaina. The state's tourism authority approved more than $2.5 million for a new marketing campaign aimed at helping local communities. At least 115 people died in the wildfire, now the deadliest on U.S. soil in more than a century.
Well, ahead at 10:30, police still searching for a suspect after a 12-year-old was shot outside Dunbar High School on Friday. The community concerned after a violent Labor Day weekend.
I'm Christine Frizzau on Capitol Hill with a look at what, if anything, to expect from your elected leaders once they return to Washington in the coming days.
We're following three big stories at 10:30. Congress returns from its summer recess, why the debt ceiling debate could hit another snag before the deadline at the end of the month.
The search still on for Rachel Morin's killer nearly a month after her death. Experts weigh in on why the investigation has hit a snag.
And police are still looking for a suspect who opened fire, hitting a 12-year-old outside a football game at Dunbar High School last week. Loyola Blakefield, a school in Towson, came to Baltimore to play Dunbar, and now some are questioning if that shooting could keep people away from the city.
Mayor Brandon Scott convinced this is another case of an illegal gun used to carry out the violence. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has his comments and concerns from the community.
Gunshots outside of a high school football game Friday night, sending nearby student athletes, coaches, and fans scrambling.
It was still daylight, it's 7 o'clock. Private security gives chase to the suspect, but unfortunately he gets away.
Police said a 12-year-old boy was injured by that gunfire outside the game.
It's a beautiful night. Folks are going to be outside, and they should be able to do that without someone cowardly coming to shooting them.
But Baltimore's crime problem also boiled over into this unrelated youth sporting event. The chaos inside the stadium captured on a live stream of the game, being shared widely on social media. Thank God my daughter made it home safely. She loves her school and just wanted to support broad daylight, said one person. The kids can't even play football in peace, another chimed in. Everything about this is not normal, wrote City Councilman Isaac Yitzi Schleifer. It's not normal that families can't just enjoy watching their student athletes without fear of being killed. It's not normal that kids are killing other kids. It is not normal for these students to hear popping sounds and immediately know it's gunshots.
In some sense, it's nothing new. It's the same drumbeat. But sometimes we do have these crimes that are very visible, very impactful. This is one of those crimes that attracts a lot of attention.
A Baltimore economist weighing in.
Along with Loyola Blakefield players and coaches come alumni, friends, families, so on and so forth. Again, this interchange between city and county, which we all want. But instead of celebrating these young men and their athletic pursuits, we see violence and we see fans in panic.
Questioning how this case of gun violence in Baltimore City could have a ripple effect.
Other counties do not want to play against city teams in the city. Will this keep friends and family, alumni away from such games? And does this affect the attendance of other events in the city as well, not just those attendees that would attend a Friday night high school football game?
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
And the 12-year-old boy still in the hospital tonight, recovering from his injuries. We'll keep you updated on air and online as this story develops.
The Dunbar shooting is part of a violent Labor Day weekend in Baltimore. 7 shootings took place across the city, which killed 1 man and injured 6 others. On Saturday night, police responded to several shootings, including a deadly one at Norma Jean Strip Club on the block. Just before that shooting, Baltimore police investigated a shooting in Fells Point. Residents say they're worried.
I'm concerned about my safety because no one's safe really nowadays. You have to watch your back, you have to look over your shoulder, wherever you go, because this is Baltimore City.
Saturday night shooting is one of several violent incidents in Fells Point this summer. In June, a man was shot on Broadway, and in May, a large fight happened on Thames Street.
In Howard County, 12 of the 20 bus routes suspended last week will be restored tomorrow. Last Monday night, those bus routes were canceled, but parents didn't find out until 11 p.m. The county says a new out-of-state bus company didn't have enough drivers to cover the routes. Well, the superintendent says the school system is working with contractors to get the remaining 8 routes up and running.
In Baltimore, police are investigating an arson in West Baltimore. 3 cars were on fire this morning on Cocoa Lane and Clifton Street. No injuries were reported. The incidents are being investigated as arson.
Nearly 400 people had to be rescued at Ocean City beaches this holiday weekend. This as Ocean City deals with some end of the summer staffing shortages. Only 33 lifeguards were on duty over the weekend, about a third of the usual amount of staff along the 10-mile stretch of beaches. Officials say rip currents caused by Hurricane Franklin likely led to more dangerous swimming conditions.
Tomorrow marks a month since the murder of 37-year-old Rachel Morin. The prolonged search for a suspect is prompting some to question why police haven't announced more progress in the case. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has the story.
Yeah, there's still more questions than answers concerning the mysterious murder of Rachel Morin, despite 2 weeks ago police announcing that they had found DNA evidence from the suspect that linked him to prior crimes. Tonight, the search for that suspect still dragging on.
This DNA evidence has come back as a match.
More than 2 weeks ago, the latest update from the Harford County Sheriff's Office pointing to a potential suspect.
We don't have any clue where he could be.
But so far, this surveillance video of a man taken clear across the country with his back turned and his face out of view hasn't led to an arrest. In fact,
we know nothing more about him other than he was in LA and committed that crime in March, and he was here in August and is the murderer, we believe to be the murderer of Rachel Morin.
It's causing some Bel Air residents to question.
This is horrific, shocking.
If Rachel Morin's case has the potential to go cold.
I worry very much that the perpetrator of this act, this heinous act, is still out there.
I think everybody's awaiting answers. Yeah, I mean, it's a hot topic around town.
Growing more desperate as the investigation continues to drag, Morin's sister Rebecca taking to social media, writing, quote, "If this person is not identified soon, he will do it again." And in another post, she's requesting the community's help distributing these flyers with a description of the crime and a picture of the alleged perpetrator displayed. Meanwhile,
I've seen the patrols go up and down, and they're pretty regular.
Law enforcement continue to keep a close eye on the Ma and Pa trail.
I think of Bel Air as a close-knit community.
As the mother of five's mysterious murder reaches its 1 month mark.
That sense of community, that sense of safety has been shattered.
In that time, the sheriff's office says they've been working around the clock, sorting through more than 500 tips, and they're far from taking their foot off the gas. In a statement, a spokesperson for the sheriff's office writing apart, quote, "This case is far from cold. There are still leads being pursued and technological evidence still being processed." They're also calling on the community to keep the tips coming in, going on to say, quote, "No matter how insignificant they feel the information they have might be, it could be the piece of information that unlocks the case."
I would expect the authorities would do everything humanly possible to try to restore that sense of community.
These investigations take time. You know, it's better to do everything right and get everything correct before we make our own decisions.
Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
In terms of the suspect's DNA, one law enforcement expert believes detectives will use sites like Ancestry.com to find a potential distant relative of the suspect.
Like a cousin or a second cousin or a third cousin. And then that investigator has a lead to work from, knowing that they have a second or third cousin. And then they start making phone calls and, do you know so-and-so? Have you heard from so-and-so?
Harford County police say the suspect is seen in this video allegedly leaving a home after an invasion and assault. This was taken in California back in March. Police say the suspect is of Hispanic descent, about 5'9", 160 pounds. The reward for anyone with information leading to an arrest has recently gone up to $10,000. If you'd like to leave a tip, contact the Harford County Sheriff's Office or Metro Crime Stoppers.
The U.S. government is set to run out of money at the end of the month unless a deal is reached, and that isn't the only point of contention as Congress returns from a month-long recess this week. National correspondent Christine Frizzell explains.
The quiet lull of Capitol Hill serving as a contrast for what to expect in the weeks to come.
If you look at all the information we've been able to gather so far, it is a natural step forward that you would have to go to an impeachment inquiry.
That impeachment inquiry into President Biden raising accusations GOP lawmakers are doing the bidding of former President Trump, who posted on social media, "Impeach the bum," adding, "They did it to us."
I will not vote to fund the government unless we have passed an impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden.
Speaking of spending, that top priority for lawmakers could already be stuck in quicksand. One of the most vocal members of the House Freedom Caucus providing us a preview before departing for August recess.
We control the power of the purse.
Texas Congressman Chip Roy imploring his Republican colleagues to use that power to try to get concrete changes made at the FBI, with social policies in the military, and to push forward a border bill passed along party lines in the House.
Or will we curl up in a little ball like we tend to do every single year and say, oh no, they're going to criticize us for a government shutdown?
In the Senate, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer already making clear in a letter to his colleagues, quote, House Republican extremists will be to blame for forcing a government shutdown, a prospect some warn is already weighing on American business owners.
They are worried. They're very worried. What businesses need to be successful is predictability. You know, predictability, some semblance of, regular order.
Regular order not predicted to be widely present on Capitol Hill.
We have one bill out of 12 completed because extremists are holding your conference hostage.
The hostage taking and finger pointing, though, expected in full force. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Still ahead, the war in Ukraine still hitting close to home for one Maryland business owner, how he's using his career experience to help train civilians to fight. The 2024 election will be the first since Roe v. Wade was overturned, how the battle for reproductive rights could help shape the outcome.
And after a very hot day, we are getting ready for a pretty warm night with temperatures only falling to the mid-70s. I'll let you know how high the temperatures get tomorrow and when to expect the cool down in my full forecast.